What's going on, everybody? It's Josh, aka the Muslim Muscle, coming at you with another Next Up podcast. Talk to him.
It's your boy, Cousin Creamy. How you doing?
You know what it is. We're getting into it. We're getting into it quickly today. So I pretty much woke up this morning. Happy holidays first and foremost.
Yes, happy
Uh,
holidays, everybody.
this is not going to get posted for quite a while after the holidays, but we never said happy holidays. So happy holidays. Um, but I woke up this morning and I just had an immediate thought, and it was about New Year's resolutioners. And maybe it's because I went to Weenie Hut General this morning. Maybe there was other things going on. But I think that the best way to get into today's topic of New Year's resolutioners is to just let's pick apart the things that people do wrong. Let's
Yeah.
start there. So the average person, if they have a fitness New Year's resolution, it's this is a year I'm finally going to get into shape. This is a year I'm finally going to do it. I'm going to lose 100 pounds, 50 pounds, 30 pounds. I'm going to keep it off and I'm going to do this. And I think the general overarching problem isn't that they set the goal, but they set the goalpost too far. Hitting a
Yeah.
70-yard field goal is a lot harder than hitting a 15-yard. So I think that the biggest thing when it comes to New Year's resolutions is slow down. Take a second and just accomplish a small goal first. Something that you could hit in, I think they say most New Year's resolutions fail within 21 days.
Yeah, it's usually like within the same month is when it
Yeah.
quits.
So just knowing that people are going to just stop so quickly, it's almost a better idea to say like, hey, in the next for my New Year's resolution, I'm going to break it down into monthly goals. For the month of January, if you're starting at, we'll use a round number, say 300 pounds. By the end of January, I want to be 290 pounds because you had a 2.5 pounds per week ish rate of loss, 31 days, lose 10 pounds. It's solid. It's not going to be easy by any means, but setting the goalposts a little bit closer than saying, I'm going to lose 100 pounds this year is just incredibly important in my opinion. I just want to hear what you think as well.
Yeah, no, it's the problem that I have with the New Year's resolutions is, it's all well and good to set yourself a goal. It's great, to have that mindset, but it's also at the same thing is that you're starting a goal because of a date, not because of your want. So it's like you like for myself, it was one of those days like I woke up and I was like, I need to make a change. And it was a random fucking day. It wasn't January 1st, but it's this, these handcuffs to the date of like, I need to I need to lose this much weight or I need to do this for myself. It's like, just because it's a new year doesn't mean you have to start day one. It's okay to start in February. It's okay to start in March. It doesn't matter. It's just a matter of you starting. And, I'm completely in agreement with you is that people set their goals way too far and way too much in advance, where they say, like you said, they want to lose 100 pounds. It's all well and good on paper, but when they set these massive goals for themselves and they don't see like any sort of return in a couple weeks, let alone months, they quit and or they eat off of the diet they made themselves and then they're like, oh, I fucking ruined it. No, you didn't ruin it. Just wake up the next day and do it all over again. And I just feel it's a lack of discipline, but also just feeling that they're failing themselves way too early. They're not giving themselves enough credit for what they're trying to do way too early into a diet or a training plan or whatever it is that they're trying to start.
Right. 100%. And the obviously this is catered more towards the general population than it is the bodybuilding clientele.
Yeah.
But consistency is two different things for every single person. Like it's or it's two different things for two different type of people. For people who are in the bodybuilding lifestyle, consistency is 7 days a week, 6 days a week, and a cheat meal. But like it is being on plan 90%, 95, 99% of the time, whatever metric you want to use. Whereas for a general population person, someone looking to lose their first chunk of weight on their own journey, consistency is 3 to 4 days a week. Because before that, they had no consistency. They might have had a salad one day of those 7 days. They might have not ate on chips on the couch at 9 o'clock at night one of those 7 days. But consistency is just you follow the plan 3 days in a row. Yeah, you went off the next day, you had a piece of chocolate, something like that. But like getting back on the wagon's the most important part. And I think setting those goalposts of like, I'm going to eat on a solid diet plan for 5 days a week. 2 of those days, I'm going to do my absolute best to stay on a plan, but I'm going to allow myself a little freedom. Will allow those first probably 50 pounds to come off that person. And then they might have to lock in a little bit more. They might have to change things up. But just the consistency of of starting small and building after that is what's going to make the biggest changes for these people or for people in general.
Yeah,
Any sort of goal.
and that's like the one thing that I always tell people because at the club it's a lot of older,
Country
not
club,
really. Yeah,
specify. People
sorry,
don't
country
know.
club, country club. It's a lot of older business women, businessmen. They have a lot of money, but not much time. They have every excuse in the book of why they're overweight, blah blah blah, whatever. But it's just like small incremental changes. You don't need these massive changes. Like for instance, there's one person who was having dinner and she was like, "Oh, like there goes my New Year's resolution." It's like, no, it's a meal. It's small incremental changes that you have to give yourself a little bit of leeway because like you said, they've never really had a structure. They never been consistent with anything, so inconsistency is better than nothing. So it's the 3 or 4 days that they can, let's say, put themselves in a deficit, and yeah, they're gonna have their what we call an off-plan meal, but they're gonna have their days where they just eat kind of whatever. But it's, the small things, if you want to start tracking your steps or if you want to start eating to plan 3 or 4 days, like there's different things of that where it's like these small wins, these small goals will compile over time. And like you said, they're going to have to straighten it out once they, start losing a bit more weight. But by that time, when you start seeing the results, then it's like, okay, it works. Let's see what we can do and take this even further.
And the crux of it is, I think that the best thing to do is kind of even give a little example of like what starting really small can look like for somebody. And step one would be get something to track your steps. Step two, get some sort of reusable water bottle, preferably a liter, so you can see how many times you refilled it throughout the day. Step three, just move a little bit. By
Oh,
having the step
that's
counter, you'll see how
yeah.
much you'll move.
That's what I always tell
So, like,
people. I'm like, your easiest thing you can do is track your steps. Almost everybody either owns an Oura Ring or an Apple Watch or a Galaxy Watch, whatever smartwatch.
or
You
Fitbit,
know, yeah, like what steps you're doing. If you're doing 1,500 a day, God bless your soul. But at that point, all you have to do is you don't even have to go to the jump to the 10K. Like just do 5K a day. It's almost 5 times where you used to. So it's like you're gonna be burning more calories as it is. And that's like again the drastic change that people feel like they need to do. Oh, I'm gonna do 10K a day. Well, if you're just doing 1,000 because you have a desk job and don't move for fucking shit besides to your bed in your car to go to work and come home, these massive changes, you're going to be exhausted. You're not going to want to stick with it. You're going to have if you're this kind of person, you're going to have an overwhelming guilt if you don't hit it and then fall off the wagon and then cope with food. And again, not trying to be an asshole about it or, real aggressive, but again, there's different mechanisms that people fall into where it's like food's a coping mechanism. If they don't do X, Y, and Z, then they're going to feel bad about themselves, fall into a guilt trip, and then from the guilt they have to comfort with food, and it's a vicious cycle that can happen, and it happens a lot. It happens to a lot of people, a lot more people than you would think.
100%. I personally, if I fall off the wagon, it's normally strategic. It's normally something like an off-plan meal. But getting right back on has become a way of life, and it's built through the consistency of just getting back up. What was it? Rocky Balboa, you get knocked down 7 times, stand up eight. Whatever you just always try. You continue to try. You never give up, and that is the biggest thing about it. And realistically, I even have, I again, if I ever decide to figure out how to splice things in here, we'll do that. But like, I have a message from a client right now that says steps are the key. And it's just when you turn around and you change that little bit of your general, you sit at your desk, you get up. I mean, think about the people who work from home. You roll out of bed, you put on a shirt, you don't even put pants on, you turn on
Yeah,
the camera, and you're at work. You're
yeah,
there from 9 a.m. to noon, and then you have a lunch break of which you're in your house already. You probably ordered it during some of the downtime, and then, it came right to your door.
yeah.
You then ate that. You sat back down at your desk until 5 o'clock, and at which point you cracked open a beer, turned on the TV, called it a day. If you
Yeah,
don't have a
dude.
dog, you didn't leave your house.
And that's the problem is that, remote work's great and all if that's how your job is and that's how you make your lifestyle. I mean, get a walking pad. I tell people, I've had clients before that it's like little thing you can do. Get a walking pad. You walk on that thing at like a mile and a half, 2 miles an hour at your desk. You barely feel anything, but you're moving. There's blood moving around your body. You're not just stagnant in one place for 40 hours a week for 9 or 8 hours a day.
Screw the walking pad. I was just at Lidl or Aldi, one of
Oh,
those two,
yeah. I
and it
saw that
was
one
twenty
yesterday.
nine ninety nine for a pedal. I think it said pedal exercise.
I
It's
saw
like a
that.
little bike you just put in front of your feet. It's
Yeah.
29.99. Don't even turn the thing on. Don't put batteries in it. Just ride the thing all day long. Guess what? Even if you want to say that thing burns 8 calories per 10 minutes, if you ride it all day long, you did a lot more than if you just sat there.
Yeah.
So it's healthier for you. You feel better. And like, let's just go into like the simplest of nutrition regimes possible. For a female, 3 to 4 boluses of protein. Two of those meals have carbs. Two of those meals have fats. Pretty much done. Pretty much done. For men, bump that protein number. I don't know what the average size human male is. Um, but like we're gonna assume that the average person should have about 180 grams of protein, whether they're smaller
Yeah.
than that or bigger than that and trying to come down. Bodybuilders thing or muscular athletes, that number is going to be significantly different. But for example, I think I'm eating like 380 grams of protein. So I'm not 380 pounds, but that
Holy
number will be
fuck.
significantly different. We'll talk about that later. But if a man turned around, had 40 to 50 grams of protein 3 to 4 times a day, they're going to be generally in a pretty good spot. You'll get trace protein from your carb sources or your fat
Yeah.
sources or whatever else you do. But if you follow that, make the carbs around your workout, make the fats around your wake up time and your bedtime, you're good to go. You'll be pretty solid. You won't have that much issues when it comes to there you go. So um you won't have that many issues when it comes to like realistically losing body fat right off the jump. It's when it starts to become a little more nuanced that you might want some help.
Mhm.
But I think most people really don't fall off because they don't know what they're doing. I think everyone can turn around, look at a box of cookies and look at a salad and say which one's going to help them get towards their goal. It's the, well, if I have this right now, it's not like I'm reporting to anybody. It's not like somebody's going to be like, oh, no, you shouldn't have that. The accountability factor is huge. And yes, Colin and I are both coaches. It's going to sound like an ad. Getting a coach is a great idea, but not even getting a coach, just have somebody else and put something on the line. Turn around, give your best friend $100 and say, if I don't lose 5 pounds by the end of this month, even though my goal is 10, that means I fell off so hard I don't deserve it.
Mhm.
Keep that. But if I turn around and I do it, I want that $100 back. As long as you got a good friend to spend your money, that person is now holding you accountable. It's not your coach per se, but it's somebody that you turn around and you have to say, like, hey, I'm not going to this up because I don't want to lose $100.
Yeah.
Now, having a coach, you get a lot more insight. You have a lot more knowledge. You can fix little problems. You can turn around and make things work for you. That's the benefit of having a coach. But if you can't afford a coach, then you probably can't afford giving somebody $100. So you're going to need that $100 back. You're going to start to do it. So, but then, there's also the people who have problems with like, they snack all day long,
Yeah.
right? Like they just munch. I'm definitely a muncher when it comes down to stuff like that. If it was if I had free reign to kind of eat whatever I want, I probably have a pack of beef jerky and, you know, at 1 hour, then the next hour some popcorn, and then the next hour, a meal, and then kind of just graze throughout the day. That would be how I would like to do it. But there's a really simple way for somebody whose New Year's resolution is to stop snacking, and that's to just have an eating window.
Yeah.
So something like intermittent fasting for that person can build some really solid habits. You turn around, you do a 16-8 window where you eat from normal people hours 12 to 8, right? So yeah, you fasted until 12 o'clock. Well, you're at work from 9 to noon. And then you're at a lunch break and you start that eating window. Now you don't need to eat throughout that window, but as long as you allocate enough calories in your day to allow yourself a little bit of a snack, and then you cut it off hard at 8 o'clock, you will start to develop a habit to snack less.
Yeah.
You won't snack throughout the day. And then when you start to turn around and you say, hey, I need to drop a little bit more calories to make more progress, well, what's the easiest thing to drop? The 20 almonds that you had at 2:30 in the afternoon that you really didn't want, but like you're just used to munching on something and you replace with
Mhm.
a piece of gum. Like that is where you turn around and start to move those big rocks for somebody who's a snacker. Um, but then it also brings us into the idea of nutrient timing, and like I kind of alluded to before with the sample diet. By the way, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun nonsense stuff before we get into that. But like when it comes to your nutrient timing and your intermittent fasting, and like there's a lot of people who say there's no benefit to fasting. And as a bodybuilder, we shouldn't be fasting. I definitely disagree with that to a degree. I think that you can turn around, you can do a lot of things with fasting. You could help fix gut issues with fasting. You could help to regulate someone's blood glucose with fasting. You
Yep.
could even turn around and you can increase lipolysis by having less, blood sugar, less fatty acids in the actual blood, or allow for more fatty acids to get into the bloodstream to be used as energy just through the idea of fasting. By turning around and saying, hey, I'm not going to eat for 16 hours. I'm gonna finish my last meal at, God, I don't want to do this math, but let's say 7 o'clock, right? 5 hours from there would be midnight, and then you wouldn't eat until 11 a.m. Well, that's not exactly the worst thing in the world for somebody who might be experiencing some GI distress, something that's not going to feel the best for them. It might be worth it for them to practice that every once in a while, or practice 24-hour fast. Nutrient timing is all well and good, but like at the end of the day, as long as you're not consistently training through a 24-hour fast, generally you're going to be okay, especially in an off-season setting. In a prep setting, a little bit different. At some point, we will have Coach Backs on to talk about that and
Yeah.
fasting during prep while training. But realistically, I think from a mental aspect, it's going to be harder to do that just because you're going to be hungry and then you're going to have to train and then know that you have nothing off the back end of that. That's more mentally taxing than physically, I think. So there's definitely merit to it. But for a general population person, I believe intermittent fasting is key, especially in a snacker.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to fat, I mean, even for myself, where it's like I was so used to for the last like couple of years, it was like you wake up, um, you know, for instance, general population or even myself, like wake up, cup of coffee, eat your breakfast, go to work. I've even now, with my food being where it's at, I usually don't eat till roughly 11, 10, depending on when I'm training, but also depending on when I'm working. More times than not, though. I'm usually eating my first meal, which is my pre-workout meal, at 10:30-ish, 11 o'clock. So I'm not necessarily fasting like a crazy amount, but at the same time, my last meal usually goes down around like 9 o'clock. So it's like 9 o'clock till, let's say, 10 o'clock the next day. It's like 13 hours of a window. And I think with intermittent fasting for like the general populace, it helps a lot with hunger cues as well. Because if you know like your eating window's at 12 o'clock and it's 9:30 and you're still hungry, it's not necessarily like forcing yourself not to eat or like fighting hunger, but it's like it's more so discipline in which that that you're not your eating window isn't until 12 o'clock. So it's like you're building that discipline with they're not relying on food all the time during the day. And, over time you build that habit where it's just like it gets to the point where you wake up and even if you're hungry, you're not eating till 12 o'clock. And it's just like you do that day in and day out. More times than not, you'll get used to it. So by the time 12 o'clock rolls around, you're like, oh, okay, I'm good to eat now. It's not dying for hunger. And I feel like within the first month or so, even like I'd say a month, those cues could be going crazy for you if you're used to waking up and eating at say 7 a.m. But over time, because even when because realistically, I didn't start doing that until I really met you and knew like your timing, and I was like, I kind of like that. Never really
I was
explained
gonna
it to
ask
me.
if you got that from me.
Yeah,
I
because
was
like you never really explained it or never really asked, and I was like, oh, let's try that. And it's more for myself is that it's like the mental clarity through the morning. Because if I usually wake up, eat, and it's like I would fucking blood sugar just spikes, and then it's like I have a crash and I'm dead by like 9:30. But with me being able to push off my meal, and again, it's going into training, so I can have a big insulin spike, go into training, post training, have another insulin spike, and then move about my day, have three meals from, I don't even know, 2 o'clock till 9. So it's a rather huge eating window, but again, it's just something that I found that worked for me. And even when it comes to a prep setting, it works a lot because you're pushing your food off later in the day. So you're not hungry throughout the day. You're still eating rather large meals as the day goes on.
Let me just preface this. There is a study that says that if you eat closer to the time that you actually go to bed, you wake up hungrier. But I'll explain to you why exactly that whole 10:30 thing started. Originally, during prep, I would train after my second meal. I would train around 1 o'clock after my second meal. And then I started having clients that wanted like earlier, like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, from personal training. So I had to push the food or I had to push my training window up, which worked because I was eating at 9:30, so I could just make my 9:30 meal my pre-workout meal. Then I realized that I'm a lot more productive in the morning. I wake up at 5:30 every morning. I can do my cardio, I can do my client check-ins, I could do anything that I really realistically need to do for either the gym or online coaching or you know, if I got to post a podcast, whatever it is, content creation, I'm able to do that between the hours of 5:30 and about 10:30 just based off of the fact that that's when my brain works the best. From 10:30, I eat a meal. I normally walk to Lila because, got to. But also just like might start doing some other stuff, write a diet plan, something along those lines. Start thinking about training. Normally I have like a couple things that I try to get done in that hour and a half. Train at 12, eat again at like 2:30-ish, maybe 3 if I'm running late, if something came up. But then the rest of the day, I kind of set my morning to these are the things that I need to get done throughout the rest of the day. I'm going to train. And now I don't need to use my brain because I already turned around and thought about it earlier in the day. And that split of what most people would be like a lunch break, which is a lot longer than a lunch break, and then actually doing the work after that. No longer thinking about it, but just moving forward on the actual plan that I need to do. So that's how it all started. But for most people, you're going to find a lot more mental clarity by doing that. But you also find a lot more mental clarity by having no carbs in that first meal, which
Yeah.
most people will say for their fitness goal is not going to be to gain weight right after the holidays. It's going to be to lose weight. So, yes, you can get that mental clarity aspect in the morning by just having a protein fat, but also you just eliminated one of your meals having carbs, which is going, when you eliminate an entire macronutrient throughout the day, it's going to be a lot harder to turn around and have a surplus of food unless you're being a glutton in that meal. If you have
Yep.
a stick of butter and egg whites, you are not going to lose weight. Calories in, calories out is still a thing. Thermodynamic effect of food is still a thing. If you are having the simplest way of having fat, you're going to be more likely to store that fat if you're in a surplus or maintenance level. If you're in a caloric deficit and you still have less fat than or less calories, yeah, you can kind of make your diet how you want to. If you want to have bacon in the morning, you can eat bacon and lose weight. You can also have Cheerios and lose weight. If you don't know, now you know. you can pretty much eat, and that was a big thing when I was coming up in the fitness ideology. I don't know if you were in it by that point, but like people having Pop Tarts and stuff before they worked out. If it fits your macros at that point was huge. But if it fits your macros at that point was people eating egg whites and salad the entire day so that they could binge later on the day. Entire pint of Ben and Jerry's, some monster meal at night, um, the Pop Tarts pre workout, the Rice Krispie treats post workout. But if it fits your macros at that time, was like crapshoot of just calories in, calories out. It wasn't about nutrient density. Now I think we've learned a little bit more to know that if you're going to do it, if it fits your macros, throwing a vegetable and a chicken breast in there might be a beneficial idea for most people.
Yeah, and it's like I guess you can say so because I touched on this in a podcast prior, but like, what the fuck? Sorry, that was like a mean take I just had.
There you go.
Um, I touched on it in an earlier podcast where I didn't necessarily follow a meal plan my last prep. I did very much macros, but it wasn't, protein mug cakes, bullshit, different baked goods to make shit taste. No, like it was if I had the fat to have beef, I had beef and potato. And if it was supposed to be a chicken meal and I did beef instead, but I had the fats to do it, then sure, I did beef. Like stuff like that, where I'm substituting whole food for whole food, not whole food for bullshit. And, it's all well and good. You can make your progress eating Twinkies and drinking chocolate milk. That's great. But, you ain't gonna feel the best. And I don't really give a shit what people say that if you even just get to a very clean meal plan or a very clean way of dieting or eating or whatever the case may be, you're gonna feel a lot better. Mentally, you're gonna feel a lot better. Physically, you're gonna feel a lot better. Your skin's gonna look a lot better. You're not gonna be all greasy and shit all the time. You're actually gonna smell better. It's just the people who feel like they can eat whatever, and if it fits their meals, if it fits their macros, it fits their macros. And some people believe in that. Some people die on that hill. God bless. Have at it. But, if you have a Twinkie and a protein shake and you think that that's just as nutrient dense as chicken, broccoli, and rice or chicken, broccoli, potato or whatever, it makes no sense to me because again, it's the nutrient density of the food. You're going to be a lot hungrier after you eat a Twinkie and a protein shake if you rather than having like beef potato or a salad or whatever the case may be. You're going to be fuller for longer when you eat these whole foods.
Yes, I've said it for years to people in the gym whenever they're like, "Oh, is that bad for you?" No, there's no food bad for you. I could turn around and get you stage peeled on protein shakes and Twinkies. Literally have used those too. So I don't know if me and you've talked about that.
No.
But I've always said I was like, I can get you peeled on protein shake and Twinkies. But when we look at the end of the day, your blood work's going to be crap. Like you're not
Yeah.
going to feel good. You're going to be able to eat one or two Twinkies at the end of this prep, and then a lot of protein shakes, and you're not going to be happy about it. But you can do it.
Yeah,
It's
and
just,
it's not reasonable. It's not sustainable. And again, it's possible, but it's just stupid. You're sacrificing so much for so little, and the return on it is so poor because once you eat that Twinkie or once you eat whatever, insert sweet food here, you're gonna crave the living piss out of it for the rest
yep.
of the day, be hungry as shit because your fucking blood glucose or you just had a crazy insulin spike, and then that shit dumps off in an hour, and you're just ravishing. You want to chew off your own hand at that point.
And that definitely goes back to kind of, you can absolutely have sugar in a diet. Let's
Hmm.
just, let's put that out there. They say that sugar is addictive. It probably is. I don't feel like going down the research of that because to me, it's not addictive. To the people who have willpower, it's not addictive. You're not going to sit there and, crave sugar and go and break that if you're just disciplined enough, if you have enough willpower. But if you don't, then that's something you struggle with. But Breon Ansley says it at the end of all of his videos. Earn your damn pancakes.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's a lot of merit in giving someone a diet plan and post workout there being some version of a snack, some cereal, Rice Krispie treat. If some people like, rice cakes and honey or cottage cheese and honey, or like little things like that. It's like, you know what? I'm going to give this to you as, and I've done this before. This is a very good tactic to get some people to train a little more intensely. I'm going to give this to you, but there's two meal options here. There's a whey protein shake and a rice cakes, or there's a whey protein shake and some cereal. If you feel you've earned the cereal, eat the cereal. If you don't, have the rice cakes.
Yeah.
Now you put a little reward system on the back end of their training session. They're going to want to most likely train harder because would you rather have a lightly salted plain rice cake or would you rather have some cocoa pebbles? I'm gonna say
Yeah.
cocoa pebbles. You earn the right to have that food. You earn the right to move up in your calories while you're in an off season setting or trying to gain weight. You almost do a right earn the ability to eat less in a diet. That means that you got lean enough to where you now need to change. You now need to create an adaptation.
Yeah. And the one thing I will say though is that, this is all, I'm going to preface this all with this isn't for everybody. And, because even myself, I probably will move away from the cereal when I start prep. It will probably be in for the first couple weeks, but then I'll move away from it just because I know myself and my eating habits are not the most splendid. And like for myself, every time post workout, it was potato or oats. It was some form of complex carb that, it's not quote unquote optimal for absorption and post workout, but it's something that kept me sane and kept me hungry, kept me fuller for longer. Just because, again, like having cereal is great, especially when you're dying on prep, but it's a trigger where the discipline is there, but it's the I want more. And just for the sake of not even having that as an option, I will always shoot for more of like a potato, oatmeal. Because there's times I'll do like oatmeal and jasmine and mix that in and make like a rice pudding. And like that's my post-workout.
All right, John
But
Jewett.
yeah, that's exactly where I got it from. And it was something that helped me a lot. It held me over for a long fucking time, but it was just something that I felt was necessary for me because there was cereal in my plate and I was like, Jack, we gotta get rid of this, dude. I'm not doing this because when I did have cereal, not stupidly, but I would have my creamy every night. And I would end up putting creamy in my last meal. I put creamy, Jesus. I would put cereal in my last meal. I would put cereal in my last meal. And, for all those people with like insulin spikes at night, blah, blah, blah. Dude, I was peeled inside and fucking out having Oreo O's as my carbs for the last fucking meal of the day. So kick
Oreo O's for
rocks.
shredded glutes.
Fucking A.
That's gonna be the name of this podcast. Oreo O's for shredded glutes. For walnuts on the glutes. Yeah, realistically, to wrap this whole thing, put a bow on it, and then we'll sign it out. General synopsis is you can eat whatever you want as long as you are making small, consistent steps to the improvement of your health. If you need to lose weight, that is eating in a caloric deficit, that is moving a little bit more, that is making sure that you're sleeping in a good quality and good quantity. You're drinking, I would say, a sufficient amount of water. People have just, varying agreements on how much water to drink. I say drink about 3 to 4 liters of water minimum a day. And then from there, drink off of thirst. If you're
Yeah.
thirsty, drink more. If you're not thirsty, stay there. That's kind of the quality. I think 3 liters is like a bare minimum. Um,
Yeah, because
but
30
don't
liters
set it,
is roughly a gallon,
yeah,
a little
just
bit
a
less.
little bit under
Yeah.
3.78. Um, sorry. But if you start there, you make good choices of whole food meals. You're not eating Twinkies and bonbons and whey protein shakes all day long. Hey, you can have it in a meal, but if you do that consistently all day long, you're going to make poor decisions and your health is going to reflect it. Your skin, like you said, is going to reflect it. Guess what? That's the biggest organ on the human body. It tells the tale of your health.
Yep. 100%.
If perfect example, this came from me being deathly sick
Wow.
for a good week. I was feeling miserable. This has not gone away because I messed with it, but because of how poorly I felt then, and I haven't been 100% healthy ever since. So, maybe it's because I don't take enough time off. I like the gym. I like to train. I like to work. Those are my things. So, all in all, long and short of it, accountability is to a degree necessary. It doesn't matter what that accountability is. You want to take it to the next level, hire a coach. You want to kind of stay at the level you are and you believe in yourself, just give some money to a friend and tell them not to spend it. Put it in a safe. Do something that is going to put some accountability on you that, that's an amount of money that if you do not have, it's not going to change your way of living, but it might take away from your extracurriculars.
Yeah, it could
You
be a
going out
slight
to dinner.
inconvenience to your life.
Yes. Not something that's going to put you in the poorhouse,
No,
but something that's going to turn around and, stunt your growth as a human being, I guess we'll say.
indeed.
Not allow you to go out. If you're going to the bar is your thing, you won't be able to go out to the bar twice that month. If going to a baseball game is your thing, you won't be able to go to said baseball game. Whatever that thing is, that's an extracurricular that you like to enjoy, put that money away so that you can enjoy it for that month as an accountability thing, and then you get it back at the end of that month. Set small goals.
And just to kind of wrap and piggyback on what he said, he, Josh, Moses,
The the Moses.
the one and only, your best bet if you're going to be doing a New Year's resolution, having someone there to hold you accountable, but being able to keep yourself accountable, so self accountability. Doing it with somebody, I can definitely say if there's someone who is willing to go into the trenches with you, it will be a lot better doing it with somebody than by yourself. I can definitely say it was a lot easier for me when I was doing it with my friend Alex. That was the
Shout out
initial
Alex.
shout out Alex. That was the initial weight loss of everything. He was there with me. We were both trying to lose weight. We held each other accountable. We made sure that we were going to the gym, we were doing our cardio, we were doing everything to achieve our goals. And inevitably we did. It's a lot easier to do it with somebody than by yourself. So again, whether it's you have someone holding you accountable indirectly, or if you have someone there with you in the gym day in and day out, holding you accountable, making sure you're taking all your boxes, it will be a lot better for you and it will be a lot better as a whole that you can say that you and said friend both achieved your goals in a necessary, timely manner with proper guidance and can just bounce back and forth off of one each other, if one was lacking energy that day and one needed to bring it, and, vice versa.
100%. With that said, thanks for tuning in to the Next Up podcast. It's been real. It's been a pleasure. We hope this helped. Tune in next week. We might do a Q&A sticker at some point. Yeah. Peace.